Am I the asshole for telling my twin that she should have worked on herself instead of expecting me to let myself go for her wedding? My twin sister, May, and I are identical. At the end of our first year of college, I was in a car accident and I ended up with a facial scar and major trauma. I started seeing a therapist because of the nightmares and the fact that I was panicking anytime I got into a car. That led to me realizing there were some deeper issues, which we worked on. As part of that work, I got a physical, started working with a dietitian to fix my diet and the smorgasbord of vitamin deficiencies it caused. I started working out, strength training 3 times a day, sprints, or HIIT on 3 with our older sister. By the end of our first year of college, we had each gained about 30 pounds. By the end of next year, I had lost half of it, but I was smaller at 134 pounds than my previous 120 because of the muscle mass. And that's been my size for the past half decade. I found a new beautician and she gave me long layers to make my natural curls be curls instead of waves of frizz. I always wanted, but that my old one said it would look bad and refused. I stopped bleaching it and I let it go. It's natural, dark blonde, light brown. I stopped spray tanning. Again, that's been my look for the past 5 years. I live in a rural area and the internet isn't great. Things like FaceTime just aren't options, and I can't post a lot of pictures on social media because of it. This is relevant because a big issue that is May didn't see me over the quarantine. We talked on the phone a couple times a week, but it mostly revolved around her wedding planning. She got engaged right before Rona put us on lockdown. I wasn't her maid of honor, so mostly I was being told decisions. I wasn't involved in the process. When it came to the bridesmaids' dresses, May sent our sister, sister-in-law, and me a link and told us to get it in our size. Same with hair and makeup, but we had to arrange for a beautician because May wouldn't do more than 4. And she wanted her friends at the appointment with her, except she didn't do a bachelorette party with us. She did it with her friends, or a rehearsal dinner, so May didn't see any of us until the start of the wedding. She was livid. Apparently, she thought we would have stopped working out because of Rona, even though we worked out at home, or that we would have stopped when she announced her engagement so we wouldn't upstage her. She was mad because I didn't try to hide my scar, I didn't tan, and she thought it would be implied. She made several snide remarks before throwing a drunk temper tantrum at the reception, basically accusing the 3 of us, but me especially, of trying to upstage her. I don't have that excuse because I was a designated driver and sober. But I, quite famously, have a low tolerance for angry or crying drunks. I told her, if you're so insecure, you should have gotten off your ass instead of expecting us to lay on ours to make yours look better. It only got worse. My family is on my side because I didn't start it or do anything, but his family and her friends are giving me so much. Am I the asshole for being surly, rude, and mean at a wedding and leaving early? I was asked to be a member of the wedding party. Despite this, I was the only person, not only in the wedding party, but also at the ceremony, who wasn't allowed to have a +1. This was an outdoor wedding with unlimited seating, and these people don't give a shit about COVID, so it wasn't about that. I was told it was because my relationship wasn't serious enough, despite us being together for a year, that only engaged or married couples were invited, and that they didn't want some random guy in their wedding pictures who I might not even be with later in the future. They don't want to have to look at some random guy in their pictures, even though he wouldn't have been in any of the posed pictures at all. Maybe just in the background of the crowd shots. There have been no conflicts between them and my boyfriend, and he's a nice and mild-mannered guy who gets along with everyone, so I don't think it was about him personally. I get to the ceremony and find out literally everyone has a +1, not just married couples, but there are couples who have been dating for less time than me. This is when I started feeling surly. I smiled and played my part during the ceremony, but inside I was very surly and angry. We then got to the reception, which had way more people than the ceremony. This is where all the more distant friends were invited, and everyone there had a +1. I was literally placed at a table as the one single person, and everyone else at the table was a couple. Some at the table were other members of the wedding party, but others were random distant acquaintances. People started asking me where my boyfriend was, and I said I was told he wasn't invited. They asked why, and I said I had no idea why. This is when I started letting my surliness show and started acting rude and mean because I was humiliated. And then I was brought into conversation with the couple's male friend, Dean. I was previously told that Dean had a crush on me, and I made it clear that I wouldn't be interested even if I were single. Even after that, he kept trying to message me and I ignored him. But now the people who brought me into conversation with Dean were like standing around and staring at us and giggling behind their hands, like they thought they were Cupid matchmakers. Dean was absolutely a part in this. I was meaner to Dean than I've ever been to anyone in my entire life. I was as fully rude as I've ever wanted to be when being the target of someone's romantic interest unwantingly. It's true that I don't really know if I was being set up, but I was already furious before that happened. Everyone was silent and awkward. I went back and finished my meal, and as soon as I was done, picked up my purse and left and went straight to my boyfriend's house, skipping most of the reception, cake cutting, speeches, and everything. I'm now being told by the couple that they're hurt and confused why I left so early, but I haven't replied. So, am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for banning my mother-in-law from the house? I, male, 39, lost my late wife 6 years ago. I have a 16-year-old son, Daniel, and I recently got engaged to my fiance of 2 years. Her mom and I aren't on good terms because of how she behaves. She's a controlling, self-centered Dolly Parton wannabe. I learned to ignore her crap, but she's been annoying Daniel and criticizing his personality regularly. He's a private kid and still hasn't gotten used to the new family dynamic, but he's in therapy and he is doing fine. She keeps diagnosing him left and right, calling him antisocial, autistic, and other crap. Fact is, Daniel is a shy, well-mannered kid, but people confuse him that with being antisocial. Mother-in-law tried several times to force Daniel to quote-unquote open up by embarrassing him with personal questions on family dinners and test his personality type. I've realized the effect her behavior had on Daniel, so I gave him the choice to no longer be in the same room, house as my mother-in-law, and he appreciated this a lot. Mother-in-law didn't like that Daniel kept his distance and no longer visits, and kept bitching about how spoiled he will become for her daughter to deal with. I told her to stop bringing it up, but she cried, "I'm just doing this for Danny." Last week, she visited unexpectedly, wanting to say hi to Daniel. After Daniel greeted her, he went into the bathroom and she went into the living room with my fiance. I was in my bedroom when Daniel came and said his journal was gone. We looked for it, but we couldn't find it. I asked my fiance, who was alone in the kitchen, but didn't see it. I paused for a second to ask where my mother-in-law was. My fiance said in the living room, but I saw her coming down the stairs. I asked where she was. She said she was in the bathroom. I saw her purse in hand, so I bluntly asked if she took Daniel's journal. She looked offended and called for my fiance when I insisted to see inside her purse. She wanted to leave, but I didn't let her. Fiance told me to stop it, but I insisted, and the journal was there. Mother-in-law tried to explain this was her only chance to get to know Daniel better because she cares about him. I blew up at her and berated her for stealing from my son and told her she's banned from my house for the stunt she pulled. She argued with me, then left. My fiance apologized for her, but said banning her from the house was over the top. It backlashed, and my father-in-law argued and hoped his daughter realized how effing abusive I am and to call off the wedding for refusing to apologize to my mother-in-law. I'm not going to apologize to my mother-in-law. So, am I the asshole for kicking my mother-in-law out of the house?